On this week's episode, we are recapping 2023.
Yes, even though you've been with us, we're going to fill in some of the gaps of things that we may not have told you on the pod this year.
Oh, so stick around.
Hello, and welcome to Rare with Flair.
The podcast where two best friends with the same rare disease are out here living our best lives. I'm your host, Casey.
And I'm your host, Cassandra.
Tripping over my words a bit there, Cass.
You getting choked up already?
I'm crying a bit. You know, it's the end of the year. We feel so emotional, nostalgic.
Gotta look back and look forward. The end of the year is always kind of fun and kind of scary just because it's oh boy, jumping into something new. How do you feel about it? What do you think this next year will be? And you never know.
Yeah. I am a person, I'm a really nostalgic person. And I always am looking back and thinking, not necessarily wishing I could be in the past. I like where I am, but just looking back and thinking back. And I love these episodes. We do them every year, and they are a really cool time capsule. And it's fun because Cass and I, if you know us and if you're an OG listener, we love dates and we know the dates of when things happened. So it's a fun time.
It really is. And I'm so excited. Yeah, it's our own little time capsule, like you said. But it makes me think of that that Paramore song Crave, where she's always looking back even on hard times because it's just the nostalgic feelings. So here we are. Speaking of music, actually, this is a tremendous segue I didn't even mean to make. Wow.
Perfect.
Wow. So, a little bit of a combo of some of our last episodes coming up, and then we'll get into our year in review. So we got an email from a listener, Caroline. Thank you so much for emailing us. It really made our day.
It always makes our day when any of you email, and thank you so much, Caroline.
Oh, yeah. We and Caroline's been listening for a while, and we've been told that she'll
Honored.
listen in her study hall, so honored. Honestly honored.
Honored. We're so honored.
So, okay. What her email says though is first that we were her top podcast on Spotify.
Oh my gosh, this made my day.
Love that so much.
Love that so much.
Thank you so much for listening. And then she was talking about our previous episode of our gift guide, which if you haven't listened to it, definitely give it a listen now. If this episode comes out the week of Christmas. Yeah. So if you really need some last minute inspo, some of the gifts that we give, you could realistically not have to ship. So give that a go as you are preparing your home for the holidays. But yes. She has requested that we do a Spotify Wrapped reveal, which we absolutely will do, Caroline. Yes. And she did ask us a couple questions. So before we get to the Wrapped, Casey, what is your favorite song to sing in theater? And she says, since I'm involved in music, I love hearing about other art areas similar to mine.
That is really a good question. I have not done theater in a long time, actually, which is sad. But back when I really liked singing a lot of Sutton Foster songs, which is kind of basic. But I liked Thoroughly Modern Millie and Little Women.
Oh, I like that.
There was a song called The Fire Within Me from Little Women. That's a great song. Little Women, the musical, of course. So yeah. But great question. Thank you, Caroline.
Fun. And wasn't it this year that you got a chance to perform?
Oh, yeah, I did do a few musical theater songs. I did The Wizard and I from Wicked because obviously, it cliche? It's absolutely cliche, but it's fun. And then I did Journey to the Past from Anastasia because I love that song too.
Oh, that song is awesome though.
I love musical theater.
See, it's perfect. And she asked, so you can totally flaunt it, right? And then a question for me, she asked, Cassandra, what is your most recommended Zoom app / software? And she says, I have a Windows computer and the Zoom isn't the best. Are there any software downloads I could use, or what would be the best option to possibly or would the best option to possibly be to get a new computer? Obviously, bear in mind, my results / my opinions are going to be heavily biased because it's purely my preference. I'm a Mac girl through and through. I'm an Apple fangirl, and I have been for many years. So, like, if you're considering getting a new computer that might be a Mac, I would maybe recommend that. But I get that a Mac is not the most feasible option for everyone, and Macs have some limitations. I think there's Zoom, especially on a laptop or a Mac desktop. Their Zoom is really, really smooth, and I just think that it's the best quality, like, full screen magnification that you can probably get on, like, a computer. And then with devices, like handheld devices, I've got an iPhone and an iPad, and again, really, really like the full screen Zoom on those too. If you do want a Windows, honestly, like, Zoom Text is highly recommended among a lot of low vision people. Personally, I don't think it's worth the money. Sorry, you heard it here first, folks. Like, these are my hot takes. I don't think it's worth the money because I think the application is not really well made, and it'll, like, crash your computer after you use it for a long time.
I've heard people say that.
It's not the best. So if you're going to use a Windows, honestly, I might just use the built-in Windows magnifier. But if you're using that and you don't like it, maybe get a Mac.
No, that's a good question, though. That is a good question, because I hear people ask that a lot.
Yeah, and it's, again, you have to know, like, you have to think about the way that you want to use the computer and what works best for you. Some people like to, like, just zoom in on a specific window, and so they'll use, like, the Command plus or the Control plus on, like, a browser, and that works for them. I like to be able to zoom in on the whole screen at a time, and I just think these apps have been the best for me, but they may not be the best for you. So just food for thought.
And we will quickly give you our Spotify Wrapped. We are going to do a year in review. We know we just did a music episode recently, so we'll be pretty brief here, but we want to give you our top 5 artists for our Spotify Wrapped this year.
Do you want to start off with number 5?
Number 5 for me was Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh, wow.
Am I ashamed? Maybe a little.
I love all of the reels of, like, older people listening to Olivia Rodrigo being like, I know my age and I act like that, and then they just, like, reach and grab their throbbing back, like,
ow, my back. Yeah, I've seen it.
So my number 5 was The Tallest Man on Earth, who I talked about in our music episode. He's one of my favorite folksy guys.
Awesome. My number 4 was The Weepies. They're kind of folksy and chill, and I listened to their album called Sirens a lot last year.
Love
this
that.
year.
This year. I know, it's almost last year, girl.
Yep.
Girl.
Yep.
My number 4, this was the pride of my Spotify Wrapped, I gotta say. My number 4 was Philip Labus, and I love him so much because, as I talked about in a music episode, I found him through the TikTok algorithm, and I love his stuff, and I think that as a really small artist, he deserves the world, so go listen to him. He's great.
I enjoy him too. My number 3 was Leve. I talk about her a lot. Lovely jazz singer.
My number 3, I had not mentioned on Spotify, on our music episode, is a band called Phoenix. They're kind of a indie pop group. They put out an album in late 2022 that I listened to a lot this year.
Awesome. My number 2, are you ready for it? Boom, boom, boom.
Is it Taylor Swift?
It's Taylor Swift.
That was a really good introduction to Taylor Swift.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The woman of the year. I mean, she was Time Person of the Year. I mean,
that's true.
I was gonna say the hour, but Okay, my number 2 is of no shock to anybody. It's Death Cab for Cutie.
Oh, yes. My number 1 is also no shock to anybody. Paramore.
Excellent. I'm so glad. My number 1, another one that I had mentioned on our music app, is Everything Everything. I liked their stuff. I still like their stuff.
I love that. And that was our Wrapped. Quickly, I know this intro has been a million years long. Not really, but
Not
it's
really.
about to be, because I'm about to say something else before we get into
the
actual Wrapped.
Yes. I'm so
I
excited.
would like
I'm so
to
excited.
announce, after 3.5 years,
Oh my gosh.
I am officially,
like quaking.
a certified literary Braille transcriber through the Library of Congress.
Woo!
Yay!
I'm so proud.
Thank you. I started this certification before we started the podcast.
Wow. I remember this. It was like the same
Only a
month,
month.
right? Like,
yeah, it was the month before, but yes, basically.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or like, yeah, the same,
Yeah.
same
No,
month we started talking about the pod.
we're as usual, we're both right.
We're both right. Yep, not the same month the pod released, but the same month we decided to start the pod.
Which was the month prior.
Yep.
Okay. I, like, you guys, we've talked about this a little bit before when Casey's brought up her literary Braille transcription. And honestly, I don't fully even, I still don't fully understand all that it entails. But, like, when Casey has, like, gone into more detail, as we've just, like, exchanged our usual memos, it is really, like, it is really intense. And there are 19 lessons, which might not sound like a lot, but each of them is very heavy. And if you don't, if you don't get, like, I don't know, more than a certain amount correct, or if you get too many incorrect, you have to redo it, and you can only redo it a certain amount of times, like, 3 times?
Yep.
Before they just, like, don't let you continue the program, and you have to wait, like, 6 months?
Yep. And
you
then
have to
start
start
all
over.
the way over.
Yeah.
And I was so close, like 2 different times. I was fairly close to failing out, and I really thought I would. And I know I'm not trying to, like, sound humble, like, oh, I didn't think I'd make it. Like, no, really, like, I did not think. Like, I did not think, and my friends would be like, you can do it. I was like, no, really, though, I might fail out, and that's going to be okay if I do. Like, I might. And people do fail out. And that was a real possibility. I'm glad I didn't. I barely skirted by a few times. But yeah, it took me almost as long as my undergrad degree to get this.
It's huge. And, like, I think, I mean, some of what makes it so much of a challenge is, one, you're visually reading Braille. You're not even tactily reading Braille. So, like, it's kind of painful on the eyes. And and another thing is that, like, the program that you use, like, doesn't have any kind of, like, spell check or anything that's helpful. You're doing it, like, completely from everything you've learned. So it's like a lot, and Casey's brailled in languages that she doesn't even, like, speak, and
yeah, we dabbled in a little bit, yeah, because it is English Braille, since Braille is different in every language, but we, like, dabbled in, like, Spanish a little bit and stuff.
That's wild. Like, I just give her a message, give her a shout.
Oh.
Like,
She's
worked so hard, and I'm so happy that, like, before the year ended, we were able to get this news.
I was glad it was before the year ended, and we will also have another big podcast celebration when Cass graduates grad school next year.
Woo! Yeah, that is next year. Woo-hoo.
That is next year, and we're really excited. But yeah, I'm glad that Braille happened in this calendar year, because I honestly thought it wouldn't, and I barely made it in this calendar year.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it did, because on my vision board, I had it on there. So I'm glad.
See?
That's all that matters.
It does come true. You're making
true.
me want to do a vision board, like, for real.
You should. I love my vision board. So, oh my gosh, are you ready?
I am. I'm so excited.
This is a time where we can get a little personal with you guys and talk more about our lives. And we're not going to get so personal and talk about, like, necessarily, like, hardships or, like, that deep. But we are going to go a little more. I feel like a lot of times we talk about disability, and we're not talking as much about, like, our personal life.
And we'll tell, like, stories on some of these episodes, but they're, like, isolated. One time this happened to me, or last week something weird happened, and, like, that's good. But this is kind of like a little window into what we do and what we've been doing this year outside of the pod. which is kind of fun. And I like that
And
it's
overall,
like special.
we've both had a good year overall.
I would say the same. If you could describe this year in a word or phrase. I didn't think about this either, so I I just
it felt kind of like adventurous in some ways. I traveled more than I ever have in my life this year. And that was fun. And I did push myself out of my comfort zone in a few different ways. I'm proud of some of the things I got to do. And so, yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I feel very similarly. I feel like, I mean, I also traveled a lot and dabbled in some new things. I also just I felt like, I mean, there have been difficult times this year, like there are every year. But I still feel like overall, when I think of 2023, I just kind of feel a little bit like blooming.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It feels nice. Like I feel I don't know. I feel overall that things have gone pretty all right.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
So you want to get into it?
Let's start in the winter, which is approximately January through March.
Yeah.
What were you up to in the winter? We'll go back and forth in the winter section here and give a few key highlights to both of our winter years.
Well,
or winter months. Wow,
right.
Not winter years.
Winter years.
I'm so sorry.
Wow. That sounds like the title. Oh, that sounds like a band name. The Winter Years.
The Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years.
All right.
Exactly what I was thinking of. Okay. So I started this year in Puerto Rico, and that was super fun because I had never spent a new year in Puerto Rico, and it was honestly, it was wild. You know, I say that and people are like, "Oh, okay, so you went No. Puerto Rico is a party. Like we were outside on the porch of just like a smaller town, and there's just so, like, the half hour before the new year and then like an hour after, there's just so much like excitement and noise and popping and fireworks, and it's just it was almost like overstimulating, to be honest, but it was fun because things are so, I mean, you'll hear fireworks and things, but like things feel relatively quiet here. And it's just like, wow, really truly starting off with a bang. And while we were there was still like a lot of holiday festivities, and it was fun to see family. So I really enjoyed that trip and spending time with my parents and our family.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
My New Year's Eve was good. I spent it with my friend Ashley, and we just like watched Crikey, It's the Irwins like all night, which is funny because she ended up getting a job at the zoo this year, and I always say that I manifested that by like making us watch a show about a zoo for 4 hours on New Year's.
That's phenomenal. And yes, you totally did.
One of the first bigger things I did in January, I went to the NIH, which I did talk about on the podcast, which is the National Institutes of Health. And I had a I wouldn't say like a good time, but a productive time. I had a productive time there. And so that was kind of my travel for January.
That's fun. I mean, enough.
Fun enough.
That's, something else that happened throughout January, February, March is I got to hang out with my mom a good bit, and we did just like cutesy activities. Like in February, there's this place where I like close, like not too far from where I live, where you can do like DIY type like knit, like finger knitting a chunky knit blanket, and we had wanted to do that for some time, and that was just like really fun for me. And then we went and we made candles, and we ate good food. Like it was just like a really cozy time. And then for Christmas last year, one of the things that I'd gotten my mom was like I paid for us to go take a cooking class. So in March, we did this like cooking class at Sur La Table. It's like a cooking store, and it was so much fun. It was like Spanish food themed, which was exciting because we were going to be going to Spain this year. And so it was such a blast, and we had just like a great time.
Oh, I love it. I had 3 things happen to me in February. I'll say a few. I started volunteering at the local library.
I remember
and
you talking about that.
I started in February, and I started actually on Valentine's Day was my first day. And I said, I'm spending my Valentine's Day with my one true love, literature. And and anyway, so I did that for 6 months, and it was a really good experience. Yeah, do you have any other February stuff?
Yeah, so the next thing on my list is that my bestie and I took this 24-hour fever dream trip to Pittsburgh.
I have that on my list as well.
It was so much fun, and I still
think
about
fun.
it.
It was so fun. I mean, just some quick highlights. We watched Bluey in the hotel room.
We got this pizza from a place with the worst website in the world, and the pizza was amazing.
The best pizza I've ever had. I still think about this
You lived
pizza.
in New York, too.
I know. I'm so sorry, New York. It was so good. Hey, it's still Northeast.
Right. Close enough.
And we went to a bookstore, and we went to a vintage shop. We went to a specialty cheese shop.
That was literally right across the street from the hospital that we were doing research in. So
yes, we were there. We were there for medical research. This was not just a random fun trip, but we really packed in some fun things. We got to see a friend of ours from Noah, and her husband. I got to have lunch with them.
That was fun.
We got Jenny's ice cream. I mean, we had the best time.
It was seriously the best time. I love it.
It was so fun.
And like, you would be surprised at what you can pack in like a day and a half.
You would be so surprised.
Because
we really packed it in.
You can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we only had one full day there.
Yeah,
so we
had
did.
Friday night and Sunday we were mostly at the airport anyway. So
yeah.
Wild.
Loved that so much. That was also on mine. Another thing I did in February, I got to meet Kristen Chenoweth for the third time. Which sounds obnoxious. But
I bet she remembers you now.
Yeah, probably. But it was really great. She held my hand. As I was speaking to her, she reached out and grabbed my hand, and we got a picture like in the moment of that.
Like, incredible.
She came and did a book signing in my town, so that's how that happened. But yeah, that was great.
Oh, novel.
Yep. It's called Novel. It's a great place.
It's a really great place. When I visited Case for her birthday last year, like they have a restaurant, and we had dinner there, and just like such good memes too. Anyway,
such good memories.
So you spent your Valentine's Day with literature, and I spent my Valentine's Day work, and it was not. It sounds boring, but it was actually really fun because we had some people visit from out of town. So at my job, the people that I work with, I'm kind of like I'm an accessibility consultant, but I work at Chase. A lot of the people that I directly work with are not local, and so I spend even when I'm in the office, I spend most of my time on Zoom. So it's always really fun when like teammates that are in other offices out of state will come visit, and that was one of those times where like just in February we had 2 visitors, and it was super fun, and I really enjoyed just getting to like socialize with people from work that I was like kind of meeting in person for the first time, and we'd worked together before, and we just had a lot of fun, and there was like a happy hour, and we got dinner, and it was fun. And speaking of work, then in March I got to go to the CSUN, the Cal State Northridge conference for assistive technology, which I had been wanting to go to for like 6 years since I was like an undergrad, and it was so amazing. And just I love conferences. I'm an extrovert, and so I love talking to people and networking, and it's just really stimulating, and I learned so much. And it was and also meeting more people that I had not yet met in person that I work with. And it was so great. And it's such a huge conference. There were a lot of other people with disabilities there. I loved it. I had the best time. And I got to go to the Hello Kitty Cafe with one of my friends from work. So that was incredible. But
I remember like when you came back from that, you were just on a high. Like it was just such an incredible time. So that's so awesome. I did not really do as much in March. I have a few things here, but nothing super of note. So really, I can move on to April unless you have another.
No, that was
we
all
can move
my
on to the
winter.
spring. So here now we're entering the springtime, and I think something that's
Yay.
going to be on both of our spring lists. I did a lot in the spring, as did you. So this section might be a little longer.
Yeah.
Something that'll be on both of our lists is we had our first Hermansky Pudlak Syndrome conference in 4 years.
It was amazing.
And it was really a good one. Like, I had a
Yeah.
great time. I thought it was just a great conference. I guess it was just even more special because we hadn't had one in so long. And
I know.
it just really felt great to be back together. And it was just great.
And I think next year will be even better. Like, there weren't as many people as pre-pandemic. That being said, I still think it was one of our best conferences. And it was just, everyone who was there, like, they just, like, we all just really wanted to be there.
Yeah.
It was
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
and it was again, like, super stimulating, super exciting, because that community, like, we really haven't gotten much of it until, like, the conference. So it was just super special. And I think when the year is ending and as we're, like, creeping toward January, I think the thing that we both think of in these first few months of the year, not to jump too far ahead, is like going back to conference.
Yeah, it really is. I'm already, like,
I'm already, like,
conference
itching to
mode.
go.
Yeah, me too. Totally.
So right after the conference, not right after, but only a few weeks after, so in between March and June, I traveled a lot. I barely had time to, like, set my stuff down before I would leave. So a few weeks after coming back from conference, I had impulse bought sort of a plane ticket in August of 2022. Because I was, like, reminiscing on my time living in the Seattle area when I was in college, and I just really wanted to go back and see it. And we have some of our HPS family that lives out there, and so I hung out with them, and it was so good. It was such a fun time. I loved being back in that area. It was great to walk around the area that I used to live in and go to some of the same places and try some new places, and there's no shortage of good food there, honestly. So it was, and good coffee for sure. So I loved it, and it felt very, like, emotionally healing too. To, like, from a time, I had said this back in the spring, but from a time that was, like, very uncertain and chaotic and a little bit, like, anxiety producing when I was, like, 20, 21. It was really great to go back as, like, 25 and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm doing okay and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much too. That really was so special, and I'm glad you got to do that.
Yeah.
A couple weeks after the HPS conference, I went to Texas for a work trip, and it was actually even shorter than our Pittsburgh trip because I was not even there a full day. I landed on Saturday
That's kind
afternoon.
of a killer.
Yeah. I landed on Saturday afternoon and left Sunday
Oof.
afternoon, and it was to Dallas. It was Dallas, right? Yeah, Dallas. I'm, like, questioning where I even. Listen, I was barely there for a second. It was Dallas, and it was pretty fun. I got to have some good Texas food. I mean, I was barely there, but it was really crazy, actually. In the airport, my flight was delayed, and I was, like, waiting forever. And I have a friend who was flying from Japan to California and happened to fly through Texas.
Which
at
is
the same
so
time.
far from both of those places, can I just say?
Yes, and our gates were right next to each other. Like, I was, like, A13 and she was A14.
So wild.
So I got to see my friend randomly in the airport of Dallas. So, yeah, it was a fun little trip, I think. Yep.
You blink and you miss it,
I blinked and I missed it, but I was there.
Another trip that I went on, so this came up super last minute, and I had talked about it again on the pod, but I went to the American Thoracic Society conference with the HPS network, and actually was so good. So for those who don't know the word thoracic, which I only know because of being involved in this community, it has to do with lungs and lung research. It's truly mostly a community of researchers and physicians and clinicians, like, not even as much clinicians, like actual doctors who work directly with patients. A lot of it is just straight up research and pharmaceutical companies. I had never been to a conference of this scale. It was massive. It was spread across multiple hotels in Washington, D.C. But it was super fun. It was great to be with the folks from the network. Again, another like very fun, stimulating conference environment where like I don't know, like I know medical things as it relates to our condition and our disease, but I didn't study medicine. So a lot of the discussions would fly like right over my head, but it was still fun to like network anyway and, you know, make kind of like a more of a businessy connection as opposed to even like medicine. But it was so cool, and I do hope that I get to go back again because it was also just fun to be able to like support the network. And we host an event for a lot of our researchers called Sundays on Monday. It was on Monday, and we have ice cream Sundays, and that was like super well attended. So it was just really exciting to see people who are really passionate about like helping our community.
Yes, and I could have gone, but I had another travel, unfortunately, during that time. But that was really cool. I still have 3 things from the spring. Am I obnoxious? Like, my spring was so crazy.
Because I have other things from the spring, too.
Good. Okay, my next thing. I was in a book club for about a year. It started in the summer of 22, and it ended this spring. So it was about a year long, and it was a really, really fun thing. My friend started it and held it at her house. And in the spring, we had our final book club, and it was really fun because we did a few cool things. Like we did a cookbook thing where we each picked a recipe from a cookbook and had a big nice dinner, and we all brought something to contribute to the dinner. And then we did a blind date with a book where we all brought a book wrapped up with a description where we didn't know, and we kind of did like a white elephant thing where we chose the book. And it was just really fun, and it was a good closure. And one of the girls from the club made us a bookmark with all pictures of all the books we had read throughout the whole book club on it. And so that's definitely that was a good memory from this year too.
That's so sweet. To break up the trips a little bit, a more mundane thing I did, but I was really proud of. So I bought my condo back in 2021, and so it's been like almost 3 years that I've lived here, which seems insane.
Wild.
Wow. Oh my gosh, in March, it'll be like 3 years.
That's weird. Yeah, it does not feel like 3 years.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I love my house, and I love doing like cute, fun home improvement things. And something that I had wanted to do for some time, but I really like buckled down and did it, was I painted the doors of my kitchen cabinets, which was kind of a huge project. But it was really satisfying. Like, I felt so good when I had done it, and I borrowed a sander from some of my friends, and I like sanded them all down, and I just painted them in one afternoon, and then like I screwed them back on their hinges, and they look so nice. Like,
they look so good. Yeah.
I'm so proud.
You did a great job.
They were this kind of goofy looking. They were like in the middle of the door. The previous owner had painted them just like this funny mauve color, like a purple. And it does not go with anything that I own. And it was very strange. So I had covered it up with like sticky wallpaper. But I was just like, I really just want them to be like ivory colored. And now they are.
Yeah. Oh, and they look really, really good. Your whole kitchen looks really good.
Girl, thank you.
The next thing I did, I'm sorry to say, I went to the Eras tour. I'm sorry. I have to mention it.
Yeah, you do have to mention it. It's really like I would be disappointed if you didn't.
I went to the Eras tour. That's all I'll say about that.
No, you can expand.
Taylor Swift, for those of you who don't, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about when I say the Eras tour, but maybe not.
Under a rock.
And yeah, it was pretty much epic. Yep. That's all I can say.
It's very kind of you, because I've seen the Eras tour like movie, and it was amazing,
which is great. Yeah,
obviously it's nothing like being there, and of course I really wish I could and have tried, to see if I could get tickets on multiple occasions, but it just has not happened. So maybe if she keeps adding shows, I don't know. I still keep not getting this friggin' Ticketmaster code. It's not fair. Anyway.
Yeah.
Something else that I did still would be part of what we would consider the springtime is I went to Spain with my parents, and it was amazing. It was such a great trip. My dad was the one who really wanted me to go to Spain, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, there are other places that I would have thought, like, I would have rather gone to. But it was amazing. It really, truly surpassed my expectations by a lot. I loved being there. I loved kind of I don't know. It is just kind of fun traveling outside of the country and seeing things that are very similar and very different. A lot of things reminiscent of Puerto Rico. It was incredible. The food was amazing. It's also, I love looking at like old history and architecture and stuff. I'm not like a history person, but if you're there, like, you gotta see it. Yeah. And we were also in Portugal for a little bit, which was really cool and gorgeous, and enjoyed a lot of good wine, and it was fabulous. I loved it.
Yeah, the pictures are amazing.
Oh my gosh, I know. I would go back for literally no reason, just because.
Yeah, the pictures are so good. My last thing from the spring was like such a lovely thing that was like so surprising, and I didn't know it was going to happen until only like a month before it happened. But my friend, an old friend of mine from high school, AC, who lives in New Jersey, she called me up and she was like, hey, I'm turning 30, and she was coming back home. Her parents have a lot of land in Mississippi, and which is like 30 minutes from me, or maybe 45. It was, it felt like a trip, but it wasn't really a trip. It's like right out in my backyard, basically. But a group of us, a lot of my old friends from high school, got together. We hadn't seen each other in a very long time, and we just like hung out in nature all weekend. We did a huge bonfire that was like 15 feet tall. We did kayaking. We were on 4-wheelers. We were like skeet shooting, which I am so blind I couldn't do it at all. I mean, it was like super like Southern, but like in the most fun way. We were just really embracing that, and the older I get, the more like nature-ish I've become. I would never have considered myself an outdoor girl, even 5 years ago, but I love kayaking. I love the water, and nature makes me really calm. And I got to like read on this big enclosed porch in the morning, and like I stayed there like a few days. It was so fun. It was so good to be in nature, and it's just really relaxing kind of to be in the middle of nowhere like that. And we all got matching. Her uncle gave us all matching t-shirts. It was just really, it was so cute.
That's so fun. Cute. Wow, I love that. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was.
The last thing I had for my spring was at the end of June. It was my birthday. Nothing like incredibly earth-shattering. I just turned 26. So not the most exciting year, but my birthday was fun, and I had a good time, and I went mini golfing with some friends, and we had some cute cupcakes, and I like earlier that morning I took myself to Jenny's Ice Cream, and I bought myself a little ice cream cone, and it was just a nice little birthday.
Oh yeah, love that. Summertime, you ready?
Summertime.
This might still be kind of in the spring, but it's such a summery thing. I'm including it. We're not going exact on the dates here, okay, people? It's okay. But my first summertime thing, I went to the beach with my family.
Fun.
And we go to Orange Beach, Alabama, like every year. And it's within driving distance. Our friends have a condo, and we use their condo, so it's like we stay in the same place. And I've talked about it on the pod before, but it's really fun, and it just feels like a second home, since I know all the restaurants and all the places, and I know the condo so well too that it's really easy to like navigate and just kind of go where I want to go when I want to go. And it's so fun spending time with my nephews. My youngest nephew is super into musicals, and so I was like playing him all the Disney songs, and that was like a good bonding thing for us. And so we did like a really cool pirate ship excursion thing. It's like a real legit ship on the ocean. And I was really afraid of seasickness because that has happened to me before. But my sister and I took the kids, and it was like cheap for what it was.
Yeah.
It was like $30 per person. But it was like they took you out on the ocean for like 2 hours, and they entertained the whole time and had all these fun games and all this stuff, and they gave you food and drink.
Oh wow.
And
that is cheap
you're like
for
out,
what it was.
Yeah, you're like out on the ocean for like a few hours.
Oh, wow.
And got to see the views, and it was so cute. We did limbo, and like it was mostly like kids stuff. But that was such a good memory though. And then one other quick memory from the beach. My dad and I, there's a restaurant that we like that's like,
I was literally thinking of this memory. Oh my gosh.
you have to drive to it. Like it's far away. And we were like, we're going to walk to it. We're going to do it because they have an outdoor bar where you can just walk right up to the bar and get a drink, And we were like, we're going to walk to it. And it took us like there and back took us 2 hours of walking. But we made it. I got like a Shirley Temple.
Yay!
And we felt very accomplished that we did that.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I love that. So after so much traveling, I just got to chill really this summer. A lot of what I did was just kind of hang out. I played video games, and I stayed in my house and I baked things, and I had a lot of fun with local produce.
Yes,
I love baking, and I love being able to be very seasonal with the ingredients that I have. Not necessarily, I mean, yes, as a sustainability thing, but because they also just taste better. It's just really fun to get things that are in season, and like just super ripe, juicy peaches that are just absolutely exploding. And I don't live in the South, so I don't get them as often or as long as you do. So peaches are kind of like something special that happen in like late July and maybe in August. And so it was super fun. My parents and I, so my brother, for my dad's, I think it was for Father's Day, he got us all together a gift that we would go berry picking. And it was so fun. We picked black raspberries and blackberries. Black raspberries are real. I thought they were just a flavor that exists in candy, like blue raspberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are real.
Wow, nice.
And so it was super fun, and I made some fun foods with them and enjoyed that.
Oh, I love that. Another fun thing I did. So like I said, my friend got a job at the zoo this year. And I got to do a really cool, she took me and another friend of hers, to do this really cool behind the scenes thing. And we got to go like behind the scenes at the zoo, and I got to see all these animals like really up close. And I've never been able to because I'm blind. So cool. And it was like really up close. Like
that
I
would
was
make
right
me
there.
like the zoo, because I don't like the zoo.
Yeah. And I got to feed a red panda like from my hand. The red pandas ate out of my hand.
Amazing.
And so that was just really, really a cool experience.
Wow, that's so unique too. Like, how many people can say that they've done that? Because I think there are some animal feeding experiences that are like more common. Like, I've fed giraffes. Like, you can feed giraffes. But a red panda, girl.
It's pretty cool.
That's
pretty
cool. I went to a handful of concerts. I didn't go to nearly as many concerts this year as I did last year, mostly because a lot of the bands were touring last year, not this year. So, but I went to a few shows in August, September. This was the third year that I've gone to the music festival near Columbus called Wonderbus. Usually, like, I bought tickets like super in advance before I knew the lineup, just because I figured I probably pop in at some point. And I did see like a few groups, and it was a great time. I randomly saw, so one of the headliners was Pitbull, which was hilarious.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I'll go watch Pitbull. Why not? And it was kind of a blast. Like, he did Fireball, and I was like, this is fantastic.
Nice.
And I saw Cake, one of the bands that I had mentioned in our music episode that we did recently, and their show was very fun, very chill, super laid back, and there was no opener, which was totally a first for me. It was just Cake, and they did a little intermission, and it was so cutesy.
Wow. I love it. Love it. One of the next things I did was I was staff at Noah Family Camp this year.
Yay!
And that was a really cool experience. Once again, I like nature more than I think I do, I think. And yeah, we were kind of roughing it. Like, you know, I was like, I would like my own shower. But I highly recommend going if you're a young person with albinism. I mean,
totally.
adults can't come. But if you're a young person or if you're an adult that would want to volunteer. But yeah, it was a really, really great experience. I got to meet some cool people. We did fun like karaoke and bonfire nights,
so
and
cute.
I swam in the lake. That was a highlight for me for sure. And before that, like before camp started, I got to go to the beach.
That's so fun. I didn't do as much in the summer because, like I said, I had a very fun, chill time in my home. But one thing I did do was go to the NIH. That was in September, so it was almost the fall.
Yes.
But it was good. It was really good. So I think on our episode that we had talked about doing research, I think the previous time I went to the NIH back in like 2021 was not as positive for me. And I feel like that was probably reflected in that episode. I think this visit that I went to in September was significantly more positive. It was a little bit weird going to the NIH in 21 when it was still felt pretty pandemic-y. So there was like nothing going on. Whereas like this time it kind of felt more like normal, where sometimes when you're walking around in like the hospital, just around the building, not even like in a hospital ward or anything, there's like people playing music in a lobby, or like it was some group doing some kind of dance performance one of the days that we were there. It was fun, and it added some liveliness. So I enjoyed it, and you know, overall health is looking good, so that's always really great to see.
Yes. I went to the Paramore concert.
Yes.
And I know a lot of these things we do briefly mention on the pod in our opening little monologue, but it was great. I was so excited. I made myself physically sick. Like I truly was feeling sick through some of it but that just like is a testament to how excited I really was. Like I was so jumping up and down for so long that I was getting like dehydrated. Like it was just a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
That's rough, but
it was
fun.
Worth it. It was amazing. I was screaming. I was living. Okay. It was incredible.
That's amazing.
Incredible. And I got to share it with my sister, and it was a special little time for us to get to be together. We are rarely alone. She has children. I love the children, but we are like never alone.
Yeah.
Ever.
Absolutely.
So that was special too.
That's so fun. And I don't have much else that I did in the summer that I really can remember based on scrolling through my photos. So my parents and I took like a little day trip thing up to, I'm making this up. It happened. I'm going off of my list. This is a fake memory. No, my parents.
I'm making this up to sound like I did something in the summer.
No, so we took this little day trip. So up in the Sandusky area, which is like right along Lake Erie in Ohio, there's like a few tiny little islands that you can take a little ferry boat to, and it was fun. It was chill. We used to do that with like some frequency growing up. It wasn't like every year, but every other year maybe, or every few years we would do that, and it was just kind of a fun little quick getaway kind of in the middle of the summer. And yeah, it really was quick though. Like we were supposed to stay an extra night and something got messed up with the hotel, so we had to come back. It was kind of part of it was kind of a botched trip, but it was also
I remember that
really fun because then
Oh, I'm glad.
we had more time to go berry picking the next day. Like I had mentioned before, it was all the same weekend. So like it was the time, but it was like a funny memory. And I feel like while we were on the ferry, I just did a bunch of online shopping.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I say I remember as if I was there. I mean,
Yeah, I
remember
know,
telling
right?
you.
I said that about you too. It's like, yes,
Yeah, I know,
this
I
memory.
know. I feel like a lot of mine are travel, and maybe this is redundant. I don't know, but like I've a lot of my travels have been for work. To be fair, it's not like I'm just like having fun gallivanting every month. Like a lot of these have been work or health related, but. This was a fun travel. I went on a trip to Hot Springs, Arkansas with my friend Ashley. I feel like I keep talking about Ashley.
Yes, this trip.
Yeah, this trip was great, and I won't get into like super personal stuff, but like let's just say like we needed this trip.
Yeah,
for some closure reasons for random things I won't talk about.
I was thinking of a different thing that was more personal from that trip. I don't want to be super
Anyway, it was a great trip. We did a ghost tour.
That's so cool.
It was kind of similar to the one with you where like we fit in a ton of stuff in like a very short amount of time because we were there 2 days, but it was quick-ish, and like we did like it was just cool. We got to see the historic like bathhouses and the hot springs, and we did a lot of nature stuff and kind of naturey. Look at me being naturey again.
Wow, girl. This really was a year for you to be naturey.
We watched a lot of Golden Girls, as you do, you know. And yeah, it was a very fun time. It really was.
That's so great. Wow. Do you have more for the summer, or is that it?
I think my very last thing of that is my grandma turned 90.
That's so huge. Wow.
That was really cool. We threw her a party, and that was just special. So,
but
yeah, I'm ready for the fall.
Yay, the fall. Speaking of trips that are quick, I visited a friend of mine in Chicago. Again, like just kind of like that Pittsburgh thing where I got in like Friday night and we hung out Friday night, and then we did a bunch of stuff on Saturday, and then I left super early on Sunday morning. But it was like a super great trip. I hadn't seen him in some time, and it was awesome. He's lived there for a few years. We went to the aquarium. We went shopping. We went and saw a performance of Drunk Shakespeare, which was hilarious.
Yes.
And it was not too far from, like, it was maybe a week or two after his birthday, so it was kind of like, it felt a little bit celebratory anyway. But it was really great. My hotel was low-key haunted, though. I just... Like, when I think of that trip, I think of that hotel. It was something, man. Like, the navigation, like, the O&M in this hotel was the most unpredictable thing.
Oh, my God.
Ever. And the room, it was pretty affordable, but, like, the room was, like, one bed shoved in the corner of this room with, like, the tallest ceiling. Like, it was, like, vaulted. Weirdly, and it made it feel more eerie. Like, I don't know. I think that hotel was haunted and or may have had bed bugs, which was not great. But
fun. Oh, yeah.
But
there's always, you know, every single trip I've been on, and I haven't mentioned these because we're keeping it good. There's always a downside to every trip.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and I like you're mentioning bed bugs. I feel like every trip you go on, even if it's the best, you can name two or three things that go wrong. You know, nothing like horribly
like
wrong,
on our Pittsburgh trip, like we got denied an Uber because of
Oh, I thought
of
you were going to
Ramona.
say the coffee thing.
Well,
couldn't find a coffee
oh
shop.
my gosh, the coffee thing. You should tell that. That makes me
Well,
mad.
we just like we wanted to find a coffee shop, and like every place we went to was like closed down, or like it was
Yeah.
just crazy. We went to like 5 different places. So
But
I don't know.
I feel like that adds so much character to a trip.
Oh, it
like
does.
it wasn't
It
just
does.
it wasn't just all good or magical or whatever. And it was that too. But I think you have to
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of take the good with the bad. And so I'm mentioning
Yes,
these things just
yes.
because they're also kind of funny. Like
Yeah, right. Well, the thing that I was laughing about earlier when Cassandra said, "I thought you were going to talk about," it was like a health debacle,
It was-
you know, and like and so I think there's always something on it.
there's always something for sure.
But yeah. My next one is I went to the Pink this was my 3rd concert of the year, the Pink
Woo!
concert with my mom and my sister for my that was what my sister wanted for her birthday.
I'm sorry. I think I heard you say I went to the Brandy Carlisle concert.
Oh yes, yes. Brandy Carlisle opened for Pink, and it changed my life. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. But yeah, it was really great. We ate dinner at Restoration Hardware. This was in Nashville, and it was so incredible. Not only the food, but like the whole scenery of it all. Like I still think of eating there. Like quite often, I think of it. It was just so good. It was so good.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So in the fall, something kind of big happens for me.
Yes.
So I think I had mentioned this a little on the pod, but now it is more official. So I am officially licensed under the Ohio Department of Agriculture to be a home baker.
Yeah.
Which means that I can sell the food that I make out of my kitchen, and I sell it to a local cafe that a lot of my friends work at, and I also I'll sell directly to people, and I make like fruit curd and custard tarts. And if you don't know what a fruit curd is, it's basically just like, I don't know, creamy, tangy. It's kind of like a lemon meringue pie, like that kind of filling. And I love it. And they always say, like, don't make a hobby into like a I don't know, like a side business or something. But I just love baking so much that I just want to be able to do it more. I don't even really mind that it's it's not even really about like making side money. It's really just allowing me to experiment more in the kitchen. And that's all I want to do. Like, I just want to go home and be in the kitchen.
If you bake as much as you do and don't have people to give it to all the time, it would just like pile up a lot.
I can
like,
only
feel
have
like,
so many desserts.
Yeah. So it's really a good outlet that you're able to bake as much as you want and actually give it away. And like have people to give it to. And I'm so proud of you. I really am. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Thank
and
you
I've been
so
telling everyone I
much.
know about it. I think it's so, so cool that you're doing this. And I'm really just like, every time Cass and I FaceTime every night. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But every time I FaceTime her, pretty much she's wearing an apron. So literally every time you're in an apron.
Without fail, I'm usually in the kitchen making a mess.
Yep.
But I named my little business. My dad actually was the one to come up with this name. So since the tarts are kind of French inspired, we went with kind of like a French name. It's called Tarts du Soleil. Basically means sun tarts, which feels really right because they kind of look like little suns because they're in these cute little fluted pans. And I've always loved everything sunshine. That used to be a nickname I had back when I was a teen, and so it feels really right, and I love it. I would tell you to follow my business Instagram, and I guess you could, but I only do things locally. So if you're ever in Columbus and you want some food, let me know.
If you're around Columbus, yeah, that's so awesome. I'm so happy. Speaking of like, you know, more things we're doing just in our day-to-day life, I did end up stopping the library after 6 months, and it was a good run. But I started leading worship music at like a weekly Bible study thing. This like community Bible study, and that's been really fun. It's been fun to kind of get out of the house and get to meet a lot of women, all different. It's a women's thing, all different ages, ranging from 20s and up, pretty much. And so that's been really fun to meet some new people through that. And
That's
it was kind of at a good timing. I was kind of ready to stop the library, not for any bad reason. It just kind of felt like it was coming to a close. And so that kind of swooped in its place in a way.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy that you got to do that and had that experience being at the library. And now this is especially really good for so many other reasons. Like it's spiritually feeding, and you get to like do more singing, which we don't always have the opportunity to do. We were talking about this recently.
Yeah, we both do at church,
which is great. But like,
in our younger years, it was more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We were involved, like you were involved in so many like musical theater things. I was in
and you
like
were
a
too,
bunch of choir stuff.
You did a ton of stuff. Yeah. Growing up. So
it's just always fun.
So yeah, it's been cool.
I love that. More about cooking. This is just really funny. Our church had a chili cook-off, and
I love this announcement.
I won in the chili cook-off.
She won. This is another thing. I was like going around to my whole family, like, Cass won. She won the chili cook-off.
So like,
I was so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
Listen, I was so like, I didn't plan this very much, but it really worked out in my favor. And I was just super confident in the idea I had, and truly it was everything that I had imagined it to be. Sometimes you dream something up and you're like, that did not pan out, but this did. So a lot of Puerto Rican food is like kind of tomato based and like stewed a little bit. And I was like, man, I bet, and people love it. Like whenever I've made like rice and beans for people and they're like, wow, this is so good. I was like, I bet if you added some soup and some chili powder and, other spices and fun stuff, it would make a really good chili. And honestly, it was. And I added in some like ripened mashed plantains because that gave it some like sweetness to the like savoriness. And a lot of people don't know, like, Puerto Rican food isn't, like, spicy. Like, they don't grow peppers in Puerto Rico, so it's not hot spicy. But it is, like, very intensely spiced and very full-bodied and flavorful. And so I was super happy with how it turned out. And it was honoring to me that what basically evolved from comfort food is something that a lot of people appreciated.
Yeah. Yes. That it was like from, I was going to say your hometown.
No, it's like from my heritage. Yeah.
Your heritage. That's what I was looking for. I was like, not your home, but your heritage. Yeah. I think that's so cool that people.
It has also been requested. So my brother and sister-in-law are coming up for Christmas from Arkansas, and it has been requested that I make this next week when they're here. So I will be making it again. I hope it's as good.
Yeah. Yes. I have 2 more work trips, but I'll talk about them separately. So one of them was I basically ran the Adults with Albinism weekend in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
No, when she says she ran it, like she ran it.
Pretty much. It wasn't just me, but I
no, but like it was like your baby.
It was said to me that it was my baby, which it was. So it was so fun. I feel like I was going into it almost a little bit negatively. Like I was just hoping it went. I was a little nervous for it, I guess, because it was my baby and I was just wanting it to go well. So I almost wasn't looking forward to like actually enjoying it. I was just kind of like, let's just get through this and hope it goes well. But actually, I so enjoyed myself. We went to the Mall of America. Good. And did a lot of fun stuff at the Mall of America. We rode rides and just like bebopped around and got to see a lot of fun stuff. And then I got to explore the city a little bit too. And it's always fun to just go to a new city. I've never been to Minneapolis, so it was a really, really, really good time actually. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I had for fall was Thanksgiving, which was super recently, and I think I'd mentioned on the pod. It was a nice chill time with just my parents, because my brother and sister-in-law, like, they were coming for Christmas, so we didn't see them, and it was it was nice. And my mom and I went to Target like 4 times, and it was awesome. And I made an apple tarte tatin, and I was really proud of it, and it looked amazing. And I thought I made puff pastry from scratch. I'd never done that before, and it turned out I felt very confident also in that. I mean, not everything that I make works out, but it is really exciting when it does. And so I was thrilled that I got to just like flex more like baking muscles and continue to try and learn new skills.
That's so cool. My last thing for the fall, I went on another work trip to Orange County, California.
Yay.
And I got to go to Disneyland for the first time in my life, and it was so, so special. I went with my friend Marlena because she lives up there, and she's been many times. She's kind of like a Disneyland expert. She knew where she was going and what she was doing. And it was like the week before my birthday, so that was kind of like my birthday present to myself.
That's so fun.
And it was just really, really magical. And then, then I did work there too.
Yeah. You guys looked so cute in your pictures. You had like the best time.
It was fun. It was. And so we're kind of wrapping up the year here, but I know this episode is going to be a little longer, but I did want to just talk a little bit too about like media. I wanted to say this is not like a flex, but it's December 12th right now that we're recording this. I have read 98 books this year. So
wow.
I'm thinking
Wait,
I'm going to make
90 books this year?
No, 98. 98.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm making it. I'm going to do it.
I think I read 9 books this year.
No, but I'm making it to 100.
You're so close.
I've never even remotely come close to 100 books ever. Like,
wow,
so this is a one-time thing. It was kind of my goal, I said, and this is definitely a one-time thing. I don't think I'll do this again,
girl.
But also, I just finished one actually that I have to recommend. That was so good, called Two Canes on the Tundra. It was like a short story. It was only like it's pretty short, and it's about a mobility blind cane, white cane, and it was great.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
It's a fictional book. It was great. It's got to be written by a blind person. I need to look into it more about
that's
the author.
So cool. Wow.
It was so, you would actually love it. Like, it was so sweet. It was so, it takes place in Alaska, and it has a lot of like Alaskan lore and like ancestry stuff.
That's incredible.
It was really good. But yeah, I did want to kind of just briefly touch on like media this year and things we've enjoyed and stuff, because I know, you watch TV, you're in a book club, you do things too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this fall, a friend of mine started a book club, and that was really fun. We read this book called Stoner by John Williams, and it was like a really fascinating book. It's kind of a book for Stoics, I guess, and it just kind of follows the life of this guy. His name is William Stoner, and he has a relatively unremarkable life, and that makes the book sound incredibly boring, but it's just like the writing style is really captivating. Like, I don't know, what seems like really mundane, like there are a lot of like really great like one-liner, almost like quips from the author himself, like from the point of the narration, of like giving you a little bit of foresight into what maybe the main characters don't know. And it was interesting to just see the evolution of this like solitary academic. And I don't know, there was something about that book that was just kind of interesting, and it was kind of sad, but it was a good read, and it was fun to discuss. But I feel like most of what we did at book club was not discuss the book and just socialize anyway.
Yeah, as it goes. I love that. I think, like, if I had to quickly list off a few favorite books of the year, I've talked about it, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches.
Yes.
I don't recommend it if you're a child. There's like a spicy scene, if you will. Ooh. Like, just like, it's not that kind of book, but there is like one part, which is how a lot of literature is. I mean, like, it's more so than movies. It's just hard to recommend. It's hard to rate a book of like age appropriateness. Right. But another one I loved that stuck with me is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Was so good. You would love it. You would love that cast.
I need to add it
actually.
to my like
You
to
really
read
would.
list.
You would love that. There have been so many. I mean, when you read 98, there's a lot of good ones.
I would hope so.
There's been a lot of. Those are two that really stand out, though. Now, when it comes to television, Cass and I have watched so
Girl.
much TV together this year. We got to do another cartoon episode eventually,
Right.
For all of you.
Oh yeah, and it can even be like
We've
a
had so
mini.
much fun.
But it's still, yeah, it's so fun. I will say for books, I didn't read. I don't even think like 10% of the amount of books you read, but I don't know. I'll have to see what
I just
Goodreads
have no
says.
life. It's fine.
No, you do have a life. You just actually read more than I do, and I don't. And I listen to music and watch YouTube and watch TV instead. But I read. What does Goodreads say? I think I read 8 books this year.
That's good. No, hey, I genuinely think that's more than probably 80%.
And I do like that is something that I would like to do more, and I did do more this year than I did in probably the past few years.
Yeah.
But one book that I read that I read Jeanette McCurdy's memoir,
Yeah,
which was
so good.
very good. It was very well written and just super raw. I read My Body's Not a Prayer Request about disability rights in the church, which is a fantastic book. Can't recommend it enough. And I also read, I started getting into like mystery novels. I do really love mystery TV shows. And so a mystery novel was really fun. So I read like a classic Agatha Christie novel, like Death on the Orient Express. It was really good. I really liked it.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, I should have. You had said Stoner, so I forgot to ask about
No,
your
you're
other
good.
ones.
That's just the most recent book I finished. I
Yeah.
want to start
yeah,
something
but
new.
not necessarily.
I
Eleanor
know. I
Wolfe,
want to
I'm
start
telling
something
you.
new right now, but it's like holidays, and so I'm like, oh, but seasonal.
Oh, holidays, yeah.
But
Gotta get a
TV.
holiday book.
Back to our
TV.
cartoons.
We're currently watching Adventure Time together, and that's why we FaceTime every night, because we're watching it actually together this time. We usually don't do that. We usually like send each other thoughts
Here's why.
afterward.
Adventure Time is really hard to describe. Once we send an episode, instead of like recapping the plot, does it really have a plot? No.
No.
We just kind of react to what happens because sometimes that's all you can really do.
We'll talk more about this if we ever do a cartoon episode again. But anyway, about like when we were like 6 episodes into Adventure Time, I was like, if I wasn't watching this with you, I would stop. This show,
Same.
I was like, this show is making me uncomfortable. I don't like it. It's weird and it's making me sad.
It is
And
weird for
now,
sure.
Now we're in season 2, and I'm actually like look forward to watching it every night. Like I actually love it. What
It's
happened?
such
I
a
don't know,
plus.
but I actually love it now.
Oh yeah.
I like genuinely look forward to it.
I think you like have to, I don't know, at least for me, I think I had to get into the headspace of the very offbeat nature of this show.
Yeah.
And not expect too much from it and just
Yeah.
let it be what it is.
Yep. So
It's a time. But we also got to watch some other great shows. We watched The Owl House, and we watched Bluey, which was such a joy and a treat. And we watched My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, of course. And right before we finished, right before we started Adventure Time, we finished Hilda, which we had both seen before, but was just a beautiful, lovely time.
yep. And all of these shows were just this year.
Yeah,
So
this was
we have
this
really,
year.
We've really gone through a lot. I know this episode is getting kind of long, but do you have any hopes or wishes for next year?
Next year seems to be, I'm like looking ahead. Next year seems to be a year where there will be a lot of changes. I can already tell I am finishing grad school next year in the spring. I'm going to graduate with my master's, which is really exciting. I just foresee a lot of changes. I'm going to start my late 20s. And I've always been excited for that age. Just feeling more settled and more sure of yourself, but still young and still trying new things. So I think I know that it might be a little bit more of a growing year, although with like its excitement. And I think I'm just kind of wanting to, I don't know, I kind of want to take it head on, but I'm also a little afraid of it. So we'll do our best.
Yeah. I feel nearly identical to what you're saying.
I know.
I feel the exact same way. I feel like there will be a lot of change. And if any of these changes occur, we'll talk about them probably on the pods. But, you know, I kind of feel a similar way. And kind of scary and exciting and fun to think about what could happen next year. But I think, I think it'll be good overall, and I'm kind of ready. And it's cool because I think maybe at the end of next year, I'll be maybe listening back to this one, and we'll hear what we were saying about 2024. And we're like patting our past selves on the back, like, you don't know what's coming in 2024, but it's all gonna be okay.
But you're gonna come out on the other side.
And you know, I do want to say, I might have kind of briefly said this before, like, all the stuff we were talking about in this episode is the highlights. Like, there were bad things that happened to us this year, both of us, and we did not talk about it, just because that's very personal, but also kind of sad or brings down the mood or whatever. But we don't want you to think that it's just all sunshine and roses. We have the best lives ever. I mean, we had a good year though. Like, overall,
absolutely. I think
it was a very good year for both of us. But yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. I don't want people to listen to this and think, well, I didn't do that much this year. I didn't have a very, like, whatever, you know.
Yeah. And it's hard. You can't really compare these kinds of things. Like, everyone is living their own lives, running their own races. So it's not really, you know, for that. It's just to share truly where we've been at this year, since like we've said, we don't share as much about our day-to-day lives. I also just wanted to say thank you so much. If you're still listening to this episode, and thank you so much, since I know this is a longer one, but thank you so much for listening to our little show. It's so nice that you want to be here. And there are people listening right now that we likely have no idea they're listening. I'm like that with YouTube videos. Like, I'm a lurker. And I often don't comment or even like them, but I'll subscribe and watch. And so I'm sure there's a ton of listeners like that.
Yeah, and there must be, because there's a lot of you and we don't know who you are. And so, you know, we're grateful for the people who reach out to us, that they listen every week. Like, a shout out to like Caroline, who asked us that question, and also to Scott, because we know he's listening like right as they come out. So thank you, Scott, for catching every technical thing that goes wrong with our episode. Scott,
we need you.
Scott has helped us catch things before, you guys, that we have not, and genuinely we're grateful, because there have been a few things, glitches on our website and things like that we did not even notice. So you all are the realists for reaching out.
Honestly, and like, we don't, like, to be clear, like, we don't know Scott like in person. We just know Scott as a listener. So we're super grateful for you.
Yeah. We hope you're listening to the end. Because this is a longer one, like we said. But no, I agree. Thank you all so much. We're going into our 4th season next year in 2024, which is cool, because
actually, we're going into our 5th season.
5th. What?
2020 counted as a season, which is why
You're right. Which is even cooler, actually.
I know.
5th season?
That's like unreal.
Buffy jumps off the thing, you know? I think about, like, season 5? That's insane. We're in our glory era, for those of you who know Buffy.
I love season 5. It's wow.
So good. So maybe this season 5 will be just as incredible.
Right? Hey, it'll follow along the trail of, like, the explosion of changes that might come our way in 2024.
Yeah.
But
Steven Universe season 5 is great too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pop off. Yeah. And besides, like, I don't know, next year's a leap year, whatever that means. That's pretty wild.
Whatever that means. More time to live.
More time to stare into the void on February 29th.
Love that so much. But anyway.
Well, thank you so much. And we will
2024 ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We will be taking a little extra week off. We'll probably have to make a social announcement about that. But we will be back. Yeah. We're not taking as long of a hiatus this year as we had in years past, but we'll just be off by 1 week. And we're looking forward to continuing this show, and we're glad that you're with us. So have a Merry
Yay.
Christmas and
Yes.
a Happy
Merry
New Year
Christmas. Happy New Year.
and any other holiday
Love
you
you all.
celebrate.
Yep. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.